Howdy, howdy, and Merry Christmas. In the midst of the holidays and with 2024 nearing a close, I think it's only fitting to reflect back on some of the best sports moments that Stateline area teams have gifted us with this year. Starting things off with the first team to gift the Stateline is the Guilford Vikings flag football team. In the first season, the IHSA recognized flag football as a sport. The G-Vikes finished 21-1 with their only loss coming in the state title game. Head coach Greg Taylor won Coach of the Year while 4 players were All-State. What a run for the G-Vikes. Up next, we've got another team of Vikings, but these ones are from North Boone. Their softball team finished first in the Big Northern and made it all the way to the state championship, but lost in a 1-0 heartbreaker. North Boone will return majority of their starters in 2025 and will definitely be a threat once again in the spring. Back onto the gridiron with Jamani Muhammad shattering the Nick 10's all-time rushing record on this rush here, finishing with 4,363 yards in his career. Muhammad was without a doubt one of the most electric players to put the pads on in the state line and will continue his football career at Winona State University in the fall. Now we're shifting gears to the volleyball court. Stockton Volleyball had nothing short of a historic year, clinching their first ever sectional, super sectional, and even state title game appearance. The Blackhawks fell to Calhoun in the state championship game, but finished 38-3 on the year and will return 3 of their star athletes back next season in Taylor Haas, Kadra Wright, and Emma Eisfeller. This will give Stockton a big chance at making another deep run. Of course, let's not forget that you can't get through the year without a lights-out Lena Winslow football team. The Panthers were right back into the swing of things under head coach Rick Aaron this year, with their only loss coming in the state title game to Althoff Catholic. The Panthers have won 4 of the last 6 state championships, so it's very likely that Rick Aaron will get the Panthers right back to where they left off next year. And lastly, we have Rockford Christian's Christian Cummings achieving 2,000 career points for the Royal Lions. Cummings is the first player in program history to achieve the feat of those career points and hasn't slowed down since the accomplishment. There's even a chance that before the season's over, Cummings could even get to 3,000 points.